very excited. At last I'd be part of a student movement, student body in Macedonia. So I shifted into the hall, and my roommate was a guy from Ohrid. It's an exciting time because I heard Africans speaking Macedonian. I met Arabic people speaking Macedonian. I developed good friendships with a few Ugandans and Americans and so on. I'd been there for maybe 3 days when I was coming home from uni one day, and the doorman, the concierge of the halls of residence, said to me, "Rendevski, I've got a prijava for you." A prijava is like, how would you say? It's a summons for you, and you're summoned to go to the Interior Ministry, the Ministry for Internal Affairs. They want to interview you. I went there without a lot of fear, but with some trepidation, you know, because I'd grown up in Australia where certain freedoms are taken for granted. But I also had the history of what my parents had been saying about UDBa and Vnatreshni, and what all the Macedonians felt about the internal affairs and the police. And obviously the relationship between the police and the public in Yugoslavia was different to that of what we experienced here in Australia. However, I got there, and it's a typical, how shall I call it, Eastern European office. Drab, even decaying, shabby, people walking around, no one really doing anything, Turkish coffee coming and going, people smoking cigarettes. So I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm called in, "Rendevski!" And the one thing, the big difference between bureaucrats in Australia and Yugoslavia at that time was bureaucrats honestly felt they had power. Here there still is some semblance of that they're serving the public. Over there the public served them. And they told you what you had to do, and you had to tell them what they wanted to hear. And that was the relationship that they had. So he calls me in, sits me down and says, "Listen, boy, we're here because we want to ask you about anti-Yugoslav activities in the Macedonian diaspora in Australia. Can you give us some names?" And he said, "Come on, boy, dete, ajde dete." He said, "Come on, boy, you've got to know. We know what's going on there." And I said, "Well, sorry, with all due respect, if you know what's going on, what do you want me to say? Because I don't know what's going on." I said, "I'm telling you honestly, the only anti-Yugoslav activities that I'm aware of is what I've read of in the papers